This is your Wednesday Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. Great show coming up today. Really excited to bring you a whole bunch of things today. Ben Johnson will hear his thoughts from the Gophers men's basketball coach from Media Access on Tuesday as they prepare for Wednesday's Big Ten opener against Michigan State. Jamison Battle, we'll hear from him as well. I sat down with Eric Curry from the men's basketball team as well to get his extended thoughts on coming back this season, playing for a team that frankly has surprised a lot of people at 7-0. Great story, by the way, by Marcus Fuller on Eric Curry. Check that out in Wednesday's Star Tribune and on StarTribune.com for more on him. So good stuff there. Chip Scoggins also on the show talking Gopher football, the shakeup at coordinator, things he didn't like from Sunday's Vikings game and what we might look forward to in Thursday's game. Just one more day until the Vikings get another crack at it against Pittsburgh in a very important game for the future. But first, what did I miss? Got to talk Wild at the jump because I found one thing interesting here the other day. I was reading ESPN.com. They're doing a ranking of goalie confidence. So each of the 32 NHL teams, the confidence level in their goaltending situations. And I'm scrolling. This is what I do when I'm, looking for the Minnesota team. I scroll. I'm like, Minnesota should probably be, maybe middle of the pack, a little bit higher in goalie confidence. It's kind of where I see their goaltending situation, but I don't get to them until number 20, which is not terrible, but it's below average. It's the second half of this list, and the segment in ESPN.com reads, quote, "History is repeating itself for the Wild. For the second straight season, Minnesota is an incredible defensive team based on the analytics, third in expected goals against per 60 minutes, but isn't seeing those same results in traditional stats, 20th in goals against per 60 minutes. In other words, Cam Talbot, .915 save percentage has been okay. Kaapo Kähkönen, .895 save percentage has been below average, and the Wild are near the bottom third of the league in team save percentage." So, with that as a backdrop, it was kind of interesting. I was kind of starting to think about how good this Wild team seems to me. And, when they get to the trade deadline, is that kind of a sneaky need, even though we look at this kind of 1-2 punch of Talbot and Kähkönen as being solid? Is that something they're going to need if they're, if they fancy themselves a Stanley Cup title contender, which based on early evidence, I feel like they are. So, with that as a backdrop, I was kind of curious to watch Tuesday's game against the Oilers, a team with a ton of skill, and, way up there in the Western standings as well. And so, of course, what happens? The Wild deliver a 4-1 win. Cam Talbot has 38 saves. Felt like an important kind of win. Seventh straight for the Wild. Of course, they're playing very well generally on both ends, but it's been more offense than it has been defense and goaltending lately. That felt like an important style of road win, to do it primarily with defense in this game. 4 goals, certainly plenty of offense, but, especially in that second period, they needed to shut down Edmonton, and they did. They got the 2-0 lead, and then Edmonton got back to 2-1. And, Talbot had to make a bunch of good saves in the second period and into the early third before the Wild extended that lead. So, this Wild team has proven capable of winning a bunch of different ways, but I thought that one was important. Sarah McClellan shared those thoughts as well. She checked in after the game with a voicemail from Edmonton.
The offense has been getting plenty of attention during the Wild's recent tear, and rightfully so. The team has scored 4 or more goals in 14 of its last 17 games. But the defense has also been impressive lately, and the Wild's play in its own end was hard to ignore in the 4-1 win over the Oilers on Tuesday in Edmonton that extended the Wild's win streak to a season-high 7 games. Goalie Cam Talbot was locked in, making 38 saves in its 5th straight victory. 9 of those stops came while the Wild was shorthanded, as Talbot was the team's best penalty killer in shutting down the NHL's best power play during 5 chances. But the players in front of Talbot also deserve kudos. The Blue Line has been missing captain Jared Spurgeon for 8 games due to injury, and the Wild has won all but one of those contests. Jordy Ben has stepped into the lineup and been a solid fit on the third pair, and John Merrill has responded well to an elevated role next to Alex Goligoski. The Wild could have nosedived after losing Spurgeon. Instead, the team has played its best hockey of the season.
A really good point from Sarah on the ability to overcome the injury to Jared Spurgeon. I think the Wild's health has been decent this year, but missing Spurgeon for those 8 games, she's right, could have been a real flashpoint in this season that turned it the other direction. Instead, they have kept on rolling. The defense has been quite good. Dean Evison was impressed with the defense and Cam Talbot as well.
They're going to get shots, right? And to not give that second and third gritty ones to them, they're going to get their skill shots. I mean, obviously Draisaitl and McDavid are absolutely special players, so they're going to get opportunities. And lots of other guys, they're going to get opportunities to shoot pucks, but it's that second, third one that, not only did Cam do a good job of smothering, but our D and the low forward, we got pucks the heck out of that area so that they didn't have more opportunities like that. So, yeah, we like the way the guys conduct themselves defensively.
The Hockey Reference has the Wild up to a 96% chance to make the playoffs, a real division contender. They lead the division by a lot, better than 50% chance to win the division. They're a true cup contender, if we can say that right now. It's still early. If they keep playing like this, though, they are in the mix. They feel like they are one of, they could be one of the 5 best teams in the league. That's how they're playing right now. And if I might revert back to that ESPN piece one more time, they had an overall take on the Wild. Yeah, this was former NHL goalie Steven Valiquette's take on the Wild. Quote, "I love Minnesota as a team. I had an NHL coach tell me the best 2 teams in the West are Minnesota and Vegas. The Wild play the right way for modern hockey. Maybe my most favorite team to watch. Cam Talbot isn't rated poorly. They might not need a world beater in net anyway." So the Wild starting to garner some national attention. We'll see how they handle it. We'll see how the Wolves fare on Wednesday night as well. They're down to a 63% chance to make the playoffs, according to Basketball Reference. I love to check in on these things. Vikings over at 538, a 28% chance to make the playoffs right now. So kind of the good, the okay, and the ugly as far as playoff chances go right now.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake for 24/7 gaming, fun restaurants and bars, and luxurious hotel rooms. And join Club M to bask in the rewards. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
All right, really happy to be joined right now by Eric Curry, super senior, Gopher men's basketball. Just a great story this year. Just kind of talk me through the 7-0 start at the jump, and we'll get into a little bit of your own journey in a minute, but just 7-0, what's been working for this team?
Just us banding together is we treating each other like family. We just the camaraderie we came with each other, and I don't know how to explain it, but like everybody's down us. It just brought us all together. We want to prove everybody wrong, I guess, and I would say that definitely started the 7-0 run, and it's been fun, I would say.
I will freely admit I was one of those doubters. I apologize. I just didn't see this coming. You guys have so many new players, so many guys coming from all over the place. You lost a lot of what your roster was last season. Are we at the point now where I shouldn't be surprised anymore when I see you guys performing well?
Yeah, I would say you shouldn't be surprised, but we're gonna let the doubters keep doubting. I would say we're just gonna keep proving people wrong all year. I wouldn't say, yeah, it's been fun and it's been amazing. The amazing feeling of me coming back to school and experiencing this.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in time where you probably weren't even going to come back and do this, right? Like, what brought you back, and what's this been like to contribute like this?
Coach Johnson called me in the spring, and I definitely wanted to just help him out. Just wanted to be here for him for his first time being the head coach. My best friend and Peyton Willis came back as well. That contributed as well. And it's just being here for these guys. I know these are a bunch of new guys, like you said. And I know they ain't have the experience of going through this season in the Big Ten and stuff like that. So I just wanted to be here for them guys and give it one last shot for the fans as well, too. So I knew I was getting fans this year, so I wanted to play in front of them as well.
You've been on a lot of different teams here, obviously part of a lot of different groups. Can you tell early on when a team has chemistry and when you don't?
Yeah, definitely. I would say this. I knew this team had the chemistry. Like I stated before, we always been together off the court. This is one of the closest teams I've ever been on since I've been here because of the way we treat each other off the floor. We always going to other sporting events with each other. We're just doing little things like going to T-Wolves games with each other, stuff like that. So definitely things like that is helped and shown me from the jump that we was going to be a very close and tight-knit unit.
Basketball-wise, I mean, there's been a lot of close games this year. You guys have had a lot of games that gone down to the stretch. Mississippi State, a perfect example of that. Peyton Willis hits the big shot at the end, but a lot of things contribute along the way. I mean, as you think about just the pure basketball aspect of things, what's the identity of this year's team as you see it so far?
Just a tough grind mentality unit. We're just going to find a way to win every time. It doesn't matter how pretty it is or how ugly it is. We just want to win. And I would say we're going to do whatever it takes. This team has a lot of pieces that's going to do whatever it takes to get that win. And I would say that's our identity.
A couple more things for you, Eric. We talked a little bit before to Coach Ben Johnson just about, not wanting 7-0 to be the highlight of this season. He's talked to you guys. I think he had the Nick Saban rat poison stuff that he was talking about. What does that mean to you? How do you embrace that message?
It's a long season. I've been preaching these guys 7-0. It's cool and all, but I've been 7-0 a lot of times since I've been here, and it definitely can flip and turn in any second. So we just got to stay level-headed and keep going, especially with the Big Ten play coming up. You never know. Every night is a tough battle, so just can't let that 7-0 define who we are right now.
You're a natural at this. You seem to know that I was going to ask you about Michigan State next because that's where we're going to end up. Michigan State, obviously, your Big Ten opener. Wednesday night at Williams Arena. Obviously, the last two opponents you played have been major conference opponents on the road. You've passed both those tests. Michigan State, a little bit different level class. How do you try to prepare these guys for what they're going to see? Because a lot of these guys haven't played an opponent quite like that, or at least not consistently.
With these guys, like you said, they haven't been here on this level. So just don't let them get caught up in the awe of course, Michigan State is a good program and all, great head coach and whatnot. But we're here too. We're in the same conference as them, and we're gonna compete just like they're gonna compete, and just probably get them ready for the level of competitiveness and toughness of that program that they bring every night. So just trying to get them locked in and keep their head on focus on being tough and what they're going to bring to us.
Eric Curry, great stuff. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I really enjoyed chatting with Eric Curry. Just a good player, a great story. Again, check out Marcus Fuller's story on him in the Star Tribune on Wednesday and on StarTribune.com. Just a feel-good story, this whole team right now. And I was impressed, talking to not just Curry, but Ben Johnson and Jamison Battle in the bigger media session before I talked to Curry one-on-one Tuesday. So I wasn't intending on it, but I ended up recording both some stuff that both Jamison Battle and Ben Johnson said, and I want to play that back for you right now, just kind of talking about how this 7-0 start has come about. So here is Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Gophers, first, and an exchange he and I had. With you guys at 7-0 right now, I mean, it's caught some of us by surprise. I admit it caught me by surprise. Are we at a point now where we shouldn't be surprised anymore? Is there enough body of work where when I turn on the TV or see come play, I'm not surprised by these guys are good?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's for the fans to decide. I mean, for me, I see these guys every day, and I just tell them that the wins and losses, in my opinion, somewhat take care of themselves. If you are consumed and obsessed with just the details of getting better every day. Like, we didn't beat Mississippi State in the summer or in the fall. But at the same time, we prepared to not lose in the summer and the fall by the little details of what we're about that led to, over time, all right, they're a pretty good defensive team. Or, you know what, they're trying to figure it out offensively. I thought last game was the first game in a while offensively we were clicking a little bit. And it just, again, it's an everyday process. And I know there's going to be highs and lows. It's not always going to be great. But if we just consume ourselves with who we are and what we do, I do think we have a chance to, be competitive. And that's the expectation. I told these guys, nobody came here to just have this be the highlight of the year. We came here because we want to see how far we can take it. But that only happens if you continue to be who you are and you don't, get caught up in the other stuff. We showed them, and it's nothing against you guys. I love you guys, but we showed them the Nick Saban. I played the rat poison, and it was strictly because not that the media's bad, but it's like this is the first time every time you win, you know how it is with social media, somebody's going to start loving you up a little bit. And it's a human nature. And I said, guys, I get the same thing. It's human nature. And so it's the ability to, we talked about a couple weeks ago, like true competitors, you don't let human nature come into play. If you want to be great, like you like Kobe, you block it out somehow. And so we talked about that. Like, this is new for all these guys. And you're getting thrown with all these different things. And now you're at the highest level and you're getting great media coverage and you're just more ats and likes than you've ever had before. Are you going to change? Or are you going to be who you are? And are you going to let it go to your head? Are you going to get complacent? Or are you going to still be hungry for more? And so the point is, hopefully we want more. Like, this can't be the highlight of the year that we've gotten to this point.
Just a good, thoughtful answer. The news conference was peppered with good, thoughtful answers throughout. And here was Jamison Battle on kind of their 7-0 start and what they hope to build on from there, starting Wednesday against Michigan State.
A bunch of guys, and I think we've all hung out, we've all embodied that team aspect, and I think that's what really creates good teams. It's just creating that team aspect and having everyone together. No matter what happens, we're all going to stick together, and I think that's really what we have here. We got guys who, from all different places, got guys from low majors, mid majors, everywhere. You got EC, you got Peyton, who have been in this level, and they've helped us, and then we've all come together and realized, we could be really special if we stay together and we do what we're supposed to do. So I think that's what we're trying to do, but we're not satisfied either. We're taking it day by day, game by game, and we're just keep going. If bad things happen, we move on. We don't dwell in the past. We're 7-0, but we don't play like we're 7-0. We don't think like we're 7-0. We're still trying to play to the best and then keep going and not being satisfied.
Now, again, the competition gets better. They've played two major conference teams on the road and won both of those games. That's nothing to sneeze at. Pitt and Mississippi State, particularly Mississippi State. Ben Johnson said it Tuesday. That's a team that's like a Big Ten team. They've got a bunch of big bodies. They've got skill. That's the kind of team that the Gophers will start to see. But Michigan State, program-wise, tradition-wise, probably a step up in class from anything the Gophers have seen this season. They will certainly see a lot more teams like that, especially, Michigan and the next one on the road. They're going to see a lot of very good teams. Now, we're going to find out where the Gophers stand in the pecking order, but for right now, at the very least, a very impressive start to the season and one that certainly has surprised me. It's time for Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune columnist here on Daily Delivery. Wanted to get his thoughts on a couple football things this week. Let's lead off with Gopher football, something that you write about with as much authority as, maybe anybody in this market, at least from a columnist perspective. And you've been, critical in certain lenses of the way the Gopher offense ran this year and wanting to see a change, and changes here. It's a old guy, meet the old guy, same as the new guy kind of a scenario with Kirk Shiraka coming back to the Gophers. But give me your take on why that sort of move was so necessary.
Yeah, when you watched this offense under Mike Sanford Jr. the last 2 years, it just wasn't working. It felt disjointed. And I know PJ is quick to say last year doesn't count. It wasn't a real year. And to an extent, I think there's a little bit of validity to that because they had so many guys moving parts, coming in, opting out, guys that were sick, not available. So it was hard to get a read on it. But this year we got a read on his offense, and it they finished 84th nationally in scoring. And no college football team, the only college football teams that threw fewer passes than them are the service academies, Army, Navy, Air Force, who don't throw the ball. And so you had a fourth-year starting quarterback and threw fewer passes than anybody in college football, but the service academy. So it just was not working. They didn't get as much out of this offense. Obviously, Tanner Morgan regressed considerably from 2019, and we can say yes, he lost two wide receivers to the NFL, but it can't be just that, right? You look at the plays and that they ran, the schemes, and it just didn't fit with him. So I wasn't surprised PJ moved on from Mike Sanford. And then Kirk Shiraka, obviously he was there just being an analyst at West Virginia, didn't have a full-time, or I guess it's a full-time job, but wasn't a coordinator somewhere. He was fired after 1 year at Penn State. And so it makes sense to bring back him. Obviously the departure was not the way PJ wanted it. But it was 2 years ago. I think PJ realized, hey, Shiraka's a good offensive coordinator. They had success. even if you're angry or mad or whatever when it happened, you can get past that. And so it's a good move. I think it's going to be a good move for Tanner Morgan, see if they can kind of rekindle some of the magic he had in 2019. But there was just, this offense became so dependent on the run game. And you have a terrific athletic tight end in Brevin Spanford that they largely ignored. He had 23 catches in 12 games. I mean, it blows my mind. And you saw when they threw the ball to him, he made big plays. And so it just felt like they didn't get anywhere near out of this offense what was there in potential when you consider the most experienced offensive line in college football and an experienced quarterback. And, I think Ottman Bell's a really good receiver. Now he was injured some, but they just neglected the passing game. And when you finish 84th in scoring with the veterans and experience they had on offense, it's not good enough.
The four branches of the non-armed forces.
Yeah, that's right.
Army, Navy, Air Force, and Minnesota. It's two things to that. One, without knowing so much about Penn State's 2020 season, what happened with Shiraka there? Why was just 1 year for him there? Or should we be concerned about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, he got fired after a pandemic year, and I'm sure they had the same issues that every team had with guys coming in and out. I didn't know their personnel, see how many opted out and,
sure.
and why it wasn't, if it wasn't a personality thing or what, or maybe it was James Franklin just, not liking what he saw. But I mean, you look at the success that Fleck had with Kirk Shiraka in his offense. And I went back, Mike, that 2019, this did surprise me because this year the Gophers ran the ball almost 70% of the time, 69% of the time. In 2019, they ran the ball 61% of the time. I thought it would have been in the mid-50s, just considering the numbers that they put up, what Tanner did. But it's more about the play calls that accentuate Tanner's strengths. And I just felt like it was, when you would go finish a game with 25 straight runs or whatever they did, and if something went wrong this year, if it was Tanner made a bad throw or they had a couple drops in a game, I remember it was early. I think they had 3 drops in the first quarter where they would just abandon a run. And PJ would say, you know what, we can beat this team with just running the ball. And some of this is, I think PJ needs to reflect on his style too, in that you can't be, yes, there are teams that they can just run the ball down their throat and pound them and don't have to throw the ball. They can do that. But, late in the year, I talked to 3 former college quarterbacks, 2 that played in Power 5, 1 played in the NFL, and just about the approach. And because I didn't play the position, I said, hey, as a quarterback perspective, when you're only getting so few throws, how it just seems to me, I had this theory. I was like, you have to nurture it, right? You can't just flip a light switch and say, hey, all right, be an accurate quarterback. We know you haven't asked you to throw and you're only going to get X number of throws. And they all agree. They're like, that doesn't work because every throw is stressful. Then you're thinking, okay, I'm not going to get that many throws. A lot of times it was 3rd and 8, and that's the hardest, those situations are hardest to do. So I just felt like they didn't nurture that passing game in the way that even in games where they could just run the ball 30 times in a row and win, that's not always the best strategy. And so, it's never going to be 50-50 with PJ because we know his identity is power running and ball control. But if they can get it a little more imbalanced and just find concepts that work for Tanner, quick hitting stuff, use the tight end, I think they're going to be better off.
Along those lines, I mean, how much did it surprise you or did it not surprise you that we're going to see Tanner Morgan again for this team next season, that he came back for his 6th year?
Yeah, I started hearing towards the last 2 or 3 weeks that that was going to be probably the likely outcome. We know he loves college football. We know he loves PJ's program and all that stands for and being part of it, being a leader. And he wants to keep playing. And I mean, he's not going to be an NFL quarterback coming off this year. This was just not a good year personally. He, obviously the tragedy with his dad, losing his dad, and just a lot of things went wrong. Finished on a high note. I thought he played well the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
At Indiana and obviously against Wisconsin. He made some, even though he threw the ball 16 times there, but it felt like a different kind of 16. He threw the ball down the field, threw for 199 yards. So they got I'm not good at math, but 16, 11 completions. I think he was 11 to 16. So they threw the ball down the field. So it did not surprise me, and it would not, and I don't know this, haven't done any reporting, but it wouldn't surprise me if he sort of knew that there was going to be a change in coordinators too, and that there was a possibility that Shiraka was coming back. But I think more than anything, he probably just, hey, they gave you an extra year. He likes college football, probably wanted to write a different script. And then when he didn't go through senior day festivities before Wisconsin. Now, PJ said, don't read anything into that. I read into it. When a guy of Tedder's, stature and what all he's meant to the program, when he doesn't go through senior day, that basically tells you he's coming back.
Yeah. I haven't talked to you about the bowl stuff yet either. I guess when you saw everything play out, it's not stunning that they go to Guaranteed Rate Bowl. By the way, I've been to that Hall of Fame. The Insight Bowl Hall of Fame is in like a strip mall in Tempe or Phoenix or something like that. It's not. We just happened to be eating lunch there like 10 years ago during a road trip.
It'll take like 5 minutes to walk through it.
Yeah, basically it's like a hallway. It's a hallway basically, but it's the Insight Bowl Hall of Fame. That's what that bowl used to be. A little bit of a disappointment though, based on you beat Wisconsin. You're like, maybe there's more to this season coming their way. Yeah, and I know fans. Like, I didn't think the Outback was a realistic possibility. No. I didn't think Vegas. I thought Nashville would. And then, I started talking to Randy Johnson, some people from our paper and with the school, and they're like, Nashville really was impressed by how many Purdue fans came. I think it was 2018. It was 18 or 19. It's a driving distance for them, and they brought a ton. And so that I think these bowl people, as much as anything, I don't think they put a whole lot of stock in head-to-head. They put a whole lot of stock in how many tickets they can sell. Oh, yeah.
Right? And so we've learned that over the years. So, but even so, I know there's we joke about how often the Gophers been to the Music City Bowl over the years. They haven't been there in quite a long time. I mean, over 15 years, right? 2004, 2006. And
I think Glenn Mason bought a condo there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I believe it was 2002, 4, and 6 that they went. So they went a lot there in a short span, but they haven't been back in a while. And so I thought that might work in their favor because Purdue had been there more recently. But if they feel like, hey, they can sell a lot of tickets, and I thought they would have sold a lot with the Gophers too. But obviously, Purdue fans can drive there. And so I think it's probably a bummer for the Gopher fans because if you've checked the airfare to Phoenix, it is not inexpensive right now. It is it's a whopper what the airfare is right now. So I have to think that's probably going to cut into the number of people that are willing to make that trip because it's a big ticket right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the reasons I thought Vegas might be a destination because a lot of Minnesotans would probably want to go to Vegas. But then again, pretty much any fan base would want to go to Vegas.
Yeah, every fan base is, and the Big Ten is really trying to take control of these bowl situations a lot and make sure that they don't have the same teams go to the same place, every so often. And so, so there's some of that going in play too. But you're right. Any fan base, if they see Vegas, they're going to take that one. So, but it's still, if you're the Gophers, it's still Phoenix. I mean, you're playing a not great West Virginia team, so it's not exactly a sexy matchup, so to speak. But I would think that they should win that one, But yeah, selfishly, I had my heart set on Nashville for obvious reasons. But who knows? Maybe another year.
Final thought for you. You wrote in Football Across Minnesota. You led that with some good second guessing. I mean, it was even guessing in the moment on some of the things Mike Zimmer was doing on Sunday. Give me out of the 5 things that you wrote, you kind of were the head scratching moments. What was the most egregious to you that that really flipped the outcome of Sunday's game, or at least influenced it the most?
I thought the last drive, the way they defended that. To not put pressure on Jared Goff, except out of the 12, because there's 14 play, but only he spiked it twice. Out of the 12 dropbacks, only 1 pressure, and they almost created a turnover off that one. To just rush 3 and play so soft off coverage, that I just couldn't understand it. And Zimmer said, they weren't covering very well, so that's why he did it. But wouldn't you look at it on the flip side? If you're not covering well, bring some heat and disrupt Jared Goff, and not just as bad as he looked in that game at times. If you're just going to rush 3 and let him sit back there, I mean, NFL quarterbacks are going to find guys if they're not feeling the heat. And so, yeah, there are 5 things that I just kind of were head scratchers. But that last drive, to me, the way they defended it, and particularly the final play, just the way Dancer was 11 yards off to begin with, and just kind of casually backpedaled deep into the end zone. I for the life of me, I don't understand it. Even Xavier Woods met with reporters today on Tuesday and said, no, we were aligned right. We just didn't execute it. I find that hard to believe. That can't be the strategy, right? It seemed flawed from the beginning.
It seemed too easy. It seemed very easy for a do or die play from the 11. Like, isn't it? It's not from the 2 where you've got you can get something in there pretty quick. It takes a little time to get somebody down there and to get that done. Final thought for you, Chip. The quick turnaround. Obviously, they play Thursday. It's been a pretty for all the up and down they've been fairly resilient this year. I'm just wondering what's left in the tank after you lose a game like that, and is there a concern that this one could be the evidence of a team that just has kind of reached its wall?
Yeah, it's interesting because they have been resilient, right? There are times where you're like, all right, this team's cooked, and then they'll pop up and have a couple of good games. But there has to be a limit to that, right? I mean, at some point, you just wonder if the accumulation of all these games and the high stress and the ones that they lose, if it doesn't take just a human toll on them, and they have, they're not able to bounce back. And you add to that, Thursday is always tough for teams to turn around physically. Already, and now you're going to face a really terrific pass rusher against an offensive line that's Zimmer said this week that he wouldn't say if they're going to keep the same alignment. That's another one that just completely baffled me that you move 3. You affect 3 positions on your line when you could have just put in a Rashad Hill and affect 1. So I don't know. This will be the biggest test, I think, for the resolve Thursday night to see if they do have the kind of fight back that Zimmer always talks about after every game. This team fights. We hear it after every loss or every win too, but he always talks about how much this team fights. Well, you come off the worst loss of the season. You did play well. The way that it ended, we'll see in a short week. We'll see, if they are able to bounce back emotionally and then also physically.
Good stuff. I believe you will be there Thursday night. Is that correct?
I will be there.
Well, enjoy it. Good stuff on the podcast today, and we'll catch up with you again soon, Chip.
All righty, Mikey. We'll see you, man.
Always love catching up with Chip. Nobody talks about the Gophers football team as well as Chip Scoggins, so I was interested to get his thoughts on the coordinator change, on Tanner Morgan coming back, on the bowl game, things like that, and also interested in his takes on the Vikings, which brings me to the cooler. We've talked a lot about, even on Access Vikings, the new Access Vikings podcast came out Tuesday. Go give that a listen. We talked about the future, whether that loss against the Lions is one that is ultimately going to cost Mike Zimmer his job. Chip and I talked about that a little bit as well. Just a reminder that this team has been pretty resilient this year, and that, I referenced those 538 playoff standings before. If you check a couple boxes and give the Vikings wins against the Steelers and the Bears in their next 2 games, suddenly their playoff odds improve to a little bit better than 50%. So it is not out of the realm of possibility still that they make the playoffs. I am telling you, there is a chance. That'll do it for today. Should be good stuff coming up tomorrow. Melanie Schaffmaster from the Gopher women's volleyball team will join me ahead of their Sweet 16 regional matchup against Baylor in Madison, Wisconsin. Good chatting with her and a fun interview there, so hope you enjoy that. See you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.